So, Dave Johnson has challenged me with recording a song for a worship set using the program Reaper. I have never used Reaper. I don't really know a lot about it, but it's a free download, so I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. So I'm just going to put in Reaper download, see what happens. And I'm just going to check the OS. This is OS Catalina, so I'm going to give that one download. Just less than 20 megabytes download, so that happened very quickly. Open up that DMG file. And accept the conditions. I'm sure that's fine. So it's unpacking that, 127 meg, still relatively a very small file. And let's see if I can find it. Reaper 64, there it is. Okay, so it's just going through a few options. It asked me whether it wanted to be part of my keychain information, which I can't remember the password to, so no. So it's just scanning through all my VSTs. So it's telling me that it's found a lot of things, which is useful. Some reverbs and compressors that I have on my system, so it's good. And it's found my Helix native, which is great. And that just tells me that I won't have to go searching for those things myself. If you're starting this and you don't have a lot of music equipment or music programs installed on your computer already, this would probably happen really quickly, but I have a lot of things on my computer already, so it's just finding all of those for me. It says you have not yet selected an audio device. Would you like to select your audio device driver now? So your audio device is usually something that connects to your computer and will have inputs on it, like one or two inputs that might be XLR inputs or jack inputs, or the combo jacks that do both. I have got a couple of those dedicated audio devices. But for now I'm using my my Helix up here, made by Line 6. Let's bring that over here so I can see it. So it's found it's found the Helix already, which is great, so I'm going to select that as my audio device. Sample rate is at 48,000, which is great. I might not need to look at this yet, but audio MIDI setup. Now that's the license key thing. Okay. Okay, what is it showing me? Okay, well, we're in preferences here, and I can come back to that if I need to. I'm just going to press OK. Reaper would like access to the microphone. Yes, OK. Right. I'm going to bring Reaper over here. Now, I've never seen this before, so let's just see what we're looking at. When I go up into the menu, I see all the things that I'd expect to see, like new project, save project, and all of that kind of stuff. So, according to the challenge that I've got from Dave, Dave has actually sent me some files to work with. So my the first task that I need to accomplish is getting the files into Reaper. So I'm going to see if I can do that direct from within the program. Let's see if it's insert media file. So I'm going to look for Dave's, and it might work that I can just drop these six files in at the same time. Let's see. Okay, insert multiple media items on separate tracks or sequentially on a single track. I want separate tracks, please. There we go. Okay, so this all looks really good. These are exactly what I would expect to see. Now already I can see over here I've got plus and minus for view, which is great. I like to be able to see a lot of everything all on one screen. So I am just going to just make sure that I can get everything looking how I want it to look. Okay, that's great. So at the moment I can see the whole of the song, so that's good. And I've got my speakers turned on, so let's just see. I've got transport buttons over here on the left of the screen, so I'm back to the beginning of the track. 1, 2, vamp, 2, 3, 4. Verse 1. So this is absolutely perfect so far. I've just dropped the tracks in. They're all lined up perfectly. I can see exactly what they are because I've got my titles over here. I can see the waveforms here, and I've got my mixer here, which is great. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play around with the mixer just so that when I'm recording, I've got a good idea of what's going on and I can hear what I want to hear. 1. So I'm just going to start that again. 2. I might bring it. Verse 2. That's really good. I mean, I'm guessing at this, but it's doing exactly what I would expect. I'm bringing the cursor a little bit of the way through the track. I'm pressing spacebar to start and stop the playback, which is standard on a lot of these DAWs, DAW, digital audio workstations, so a lot of them work in a similar way. And I have to say, I think the sound quality is great. I know that I'm not going to struggle to hear what I want to hear. So when I push the click track too loud, it gives me a red light to show that I've pushed it too far and it's peaking, so I can bring that back down again. There's a red light on the screen there, and when I bring it back down again and press that red light, it cancels it.
Verse 3.
So what I've done is I've got the mix to how I want it to be. I always like hearing plenty of click. I'm not too concerned if I get a red light. It's not loud enough to be distorting. Yeah, I'm really confident. This is very easy to use. I can see what I want to see, and I can hear what I want to hear. So next thing for me is, can I get my guitar sound into Reaper? So I'm using Helix as my audio interface, and they all work in the same way, so it doesn't matter whether you've got something that's quite expensive like this or something very small. Essentially what it's doing is I'm plugging in to the Helix, and there's a USB lead that comes out of the Helix and into my computer, and they all work in the same way. Right, so I have no idea how to get a new track. So I found a menu called Track, and then the first option on it is Insert New Track. So I'm going to do that. So it puts it in at number 1, and I should be able to name that. Let's see. So I've double clicked that, and I'm just going to put in electric guitar. There's already a guitar track on there, so I want to differentiate between my track and the track that's already on there. So I'm just going to make sure that the output on the Helix is set to what I want it to, and the Helix has this thing called multi, which means it's sending out on the 1/4" jacks, the XLRs, and the USB. So hopefully, with I'm going to find a way of getting the sound in. Okay, I don't want to add effects to it yet. Okay, so and I also have a preset. I've got a floorboard down here which is controlling the Helix, and just checking that my output remains the same. That's actually a preset by a guy called Alex. I've forgotten his second name, but it's alex.guitars on Instagram, and he's got a website, and he makes a lot of presets for the Line 6 products like the Pod Go, the HX Stomp, the Helix, and the Axe FX3 as well. And because he's a worship guy, he will make presets for the Bethel sound, the Hillsong sound, all that kind of stuff. So very, very useful resource and I think the preset for this one, which is a Bethel preset, is $4.99, so very, very cheap indeed. And the way I look at that is, it might take me an hour to dial in my own sound to get it sounding right. But by paying for a preset for $5, which is £3 or £4, it's just instant and it gives me a great starting point. And I'd much rather do that because then my time is used, you know, for getting on with what I'm supposed to be getting on with. So I know that my sound is in the system. I haven't yet got a signal into this channel. So on the top of each channel, the little fader that we've got on screen here, I do have an option there with in. So I'm going to have a look at what that is. Record, input, audio or MIDI, record. That looks right. So I wonder what I need to do. If I press record there, there it is. I can see the signal. It's coming in into the channel, and then it's going out of the master. Now, what's handy, I've been sent this chord sheet, which is great. It tells me that the tempo is 82, and if I just lightly touch the tap tempo on the floorboard, my BPM comes up. And I can dial that into 82 BPM. So when I've got my delays on and things like that, you can hear that the delays are perfectly in time for what we want to do. So I haven't yet tried to record anything, so I'm going to do just a test recording now. So I'm guessing that if I press record, it also tells me I've got the option of Command and R. It's quite nice knowing the keyboard shortcuts for record, because then I'm not trying to get to a specific place on screen with the mouse and stuff. So I'm going to try that. Command, record and R. 1, 2, vamp, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So what I did there, select file says save or delete. I'm just going to delete that straight away. I don't need that. That's fine, that gets rid of that. The reason I did that was before I record a whole take, I want to be able to see if I can just see that I'm being successful. So I'm going to press record, and then I'm going to make a sound using the guitar. As a test. So I press record, 2, and then straight away 2, 3, 4. I can actually see that there's a waveform on that track. So I now know that I'm recording. Okay, so I'm going to just delete that and start again. Very good. And I have to say, this is like super simple, really, really easy to use. And now I'm going to go for a take. Now I do know this song. I have played it before, but I've got my chord sheet up just so that I don't have to spend a lot of time, rehearsing it. Okay, so here we go. So I'm just going to get the cursor back to the beginning of the song. Just going to test my sound. I've got a delay on. The way this preset is set up, I've got stage 1, lead 2. I don't think I'm going to be doing any lead on this song, but I'm going to put some reverb on as well. Okay. Okay, so I think the original part is something like that. Yeah. I've just backed off the reverb there because I don't want to get too muddy. Alright, let's give it a go.
One, two, vamp, 2, 3, 4. Verse 1.
I'll raise a hallelujah in the presence of my enemy. I'll raise a hallelujah louder than the unbelief.
Verse 2.
I'll raise a hallelujah. My weapon is a melody. I'll raise a hallelujah. Fill up the love on me.
Chorus. Drums in.
I'm gonna sing louder and louder. You're gonna hear my praises roar up from the ashes and the rise. Death is defeated, King is alive.
Verse 3.
And I'll raise a hallelujah with everything inside of me. I'll raise a hallelujah. I'll watch the darkness flee.
Verse 4.
And I'll raise a hallelujah in the middle of the mystery. I'll raise a hallelujah. Fear you lost your hold on me. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna sing of the storm. Louder and louder, gonna hear my praises roar up from the ashes, hope will rise. Death is defeated, King is alive.
Bridge 1. Breakdown. Bridge 2. Drums in.
Presence of my enemy. Louder, oh louder than the unbelief. Sing louder, my weapon is a melody. Louder, when it comes to fight for me. Sing louder, in the presence of my enemy. Sing louder.
Ending.
Okay, so that was okay as a first run through. Now I'd be interested and as soon as I've finished that recording, it asks me, do I want to save it? Yes, I want to save it. There were a couple of bits that I wasn't quite happy with, so I want to be able to go back and listen. And what's really nice is I can just grab, you can hear I didn't know what I was doing. I can just grab a few tracks at a time so I can hear what I was doing. The other thing I can do is I can press S for solo to hear that. So that's good. So I think that was about the right place actually. I've just muted my track because I want to hear what I should have done. Okay, so at that point I should have just been what's listed here as I think it's actually listed as verse 2. Let's have a listen to that again. So I'm okay up until that point. Yeah, that's the bit that I got wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that section. Now I think the easiest thing is, I know that it's after the guide voice says vamp, and I can actually see the waveform of the different sections. So I think that, I'm guessing that this is going to be this one.
Chorus.
Oh, that's the chorus. This bit I think I did okay in. Yeah, it's the vamp and refrain that I got wrong. Now, let's see what I can do with this waveform. So, I'm sure that this program is capable of doing like punch in, punch out recording, but I actually want to do a bit of a workaround that's even more simple than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I did before and insert a new track that comes in, and I'm just going to name this electric guitar take 2. Let's see if I can take the record function or the record arm off track 1. I'm going to put it on track 2. I can see it's where I want it to be straight away. Again, really impressed with this, how easy it is. I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller so that I can see everything. Right, I'm going to find that vamp and refrain. So I'm doing that off spotting the visual cue there. So what I'm going to do, I'm literally just going to record from there to the end. So I'm going to mute my original track. And here we go, let's see if that works. Funnily enough, I've got one of my friends who's working on something similar just sending me a message about Ableton stuff with the launch pad. I've got a little Novation launch pad for Ableton there, so it's funny how we keep on sharing these tips and tricks with one another. Okay, so I've muted my original track and I'm going to go record on this second one. So I've got my signal going in there. I've got my delay in stage 1 that I had before. So let's see if I can just pick up that new section.
Vamp.
Okay, and again, prompts me, do I want to say that? Yes, I do. Okay, so again, I could have, I think it was doing a bit, very interesting. You can actually drag the cursor and do what they call scrubbing, so you can actually, without pressing play and stop, you can actually drag it across and see what that sounds like. Now, as I say, this is a workaround because on this occasion I'm not going to work out how to do punch in, punch out recording. So what I'm going to try doing is I'm just going to try grabbing the end of take 1 and dragging it all the way back, and what you'll hear is a seamless changeover. So just instantly the sound swaps over from my first take to my second take, and I might even, if I shorten the this take 2, might even be able to drag that. Onto okay, so it's a little bit untidy, and I know that I could improve on that, but I can actually drag that meet point between those two audios now. Okay, so you can hear that gap where it swaps over from one to the other. See if I can zoom in a little bit more. Okay, at the moment it's only snapping on the bar line, so I'm sure that's in settings somewhere. Okay, now that's my own mistake a little bit, because I've obviously had a slightly different tone on take 1 and take 2, but that's okay. So what I've done is essentially, it's a bit of a workaround, but I re-recorded the last half of that, and now I've got one entire take that is okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make sure that I can hit again, set the mixer so that I can hear what I want to hear. Okay, so that's fine. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename that take 2 track. I'm actually going to make that a lead track now. I'm going to have another pass through the track, putting some simple lead stuff on. Again, I don't know the original song well enough to know what is supposed to be played on it, so this is just my own take. For this, I'm going to start with the lead one setting, and this time I have applied the extra reverb. So let's see what it's like on this pass through. Okay, so I'm just using the transport controls on the left here. Back to the beginning.
1, 2.
And that's where I want to be, so I'm going to press record.
1,
Here we go.
2. Vamp. 2, 3, 4. Verse 1. Verse 2.
Okay, so what I was trying to do, as I said, I wasn't trying to do what was on the original record because I don't know what's on the original record. But that's an idea that I can then send to the worship leader, and he can pick out any bits of that recording and go, yeah, I liked what you did on the bridge, do more of that, and then he can come back to me and I can re-record any of those ideas. Okay, right, so that's it. So beginning to end in not too long. Okay, so now what I want to do is, Dave has sent me these tracks, and having recorded my part, I want to make sure that I can send the track back to him. So again, I don't know how to do that, but having a look at this, it will be something to do with exporting. Firstly, I want to save the project, just so that I don't lose my work, because that would be frustrating if that happened. Save live output to disk bounce. So what I'm going to do, well, consolidate export tracks, that might be the one. And of course, I can absolutely guarantee that any of the questions that I have about Reaper, I could firstly just type it into a search engine, or usually I just use YouTube directly and just type in there, how do I export tracks in Reaper, and somebody would have put the answer up. So most of the time the answers are fairly easy to find. I'm going to have a look at consolidate export tracks first of all. Entire, so my options are entire project, so it gives me the start and end point of the entire project, which is good. All tracks or selected tracks, I want to output at WAV, at 24-bit. That's a useful thing actually. Usually it's good for whoever's organising the audio to actually say we're recording at 48k or 44.1k or 24-bit or something else. So it's good that everybody puts the preferences the same. So let's have a look. So I mean, what might happen is that I'll press consolidate tracks, and it might just give me the master output. So this might give me all the tracks at once. So let's see what happens. And it's telling me that it's going through processing track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I didn't actually look where that was going, so I'm just going to search for Reaper. It comes up with Reaper Media, so it's got the so I can see there there's a whole bunch of consolidated tracks in the Reaper Media folder. So I've got one here called track 1 electric guitar consolidated .wav. So I think that's one of the ones that I need. So I'm just going to open that up. It's going to open up in iTunes. Okay, so the reason I want to check that is that I want to hear that it is that track soloed, because if I hadn't have checked it and it had all the other parts on it and I just sent that back to Dave, that wouldn't have been useful to him at all. What I'm going to do, I mean, you can do this more neatly than this, but I'm literally just going to drag that onto the desktop because that's what I'm going to send to Dave. And track number 2, electric guitar lead consolidated. So I'm going to do the same thing with that, just make sure, and you know, because I'm seeing the kind of the way Reaper has processed this stuff, I'm very confident that this is exactly what I want. And that is my lead part. so Dave can listen to all of that and figure out which ideas he likes and which ideas he doesn't like. So I'm going to drag that to my desktop, and that is the whole process done. So that didn't take too long at all. As I say, I've never looked at that program before, and it was easy, literally from downloading it from the internet to my finished tracks that I can send on to Dave. So Dave also asked me to list my thoughts or frustrations with Reaper, and I think an inherent problem with this kind of thing is we all like to extol the proponents of our favourite piece of software. So a lot of people love Pro Tools or Logic or Ableton or something like that, or Cubase or something similar. I've used Logic for years and years, and I've used Ableton for 4 or 5, and I love those two pieces of software. So I was actually expecting not to like Reaper very much, but actually I found it really, really easy. Now I have to say, I have used recording software quite a lot, so I know what I'm looking for. I know that I want to be able to import tracks that are given to me by someone else. I know that I want to be able to get a signal in. I've got no problems with any of my hardware because I'm used to using the hardware. In that, or in this scenario, I already know how to do the process because I've been doing it quite a while. That being said, I found Reaper to be really intuitive. You know, usually the first time I tried to find something, it would be in the most obvious place. I think sometimes with a lot of the other programs, it seems like some of these functions are kind of hidden away and you need to know where you're looking. But I really enjoyed using Reaper. It seems really capable. The sound quality is great, and the workflow really makes sense. It was so easy to bounce out at the end. I'm not sure any of the other programs are quite that easy to use. So in actual fact, I was really impressed to it, and I would recommend it to anyone. And as I said, any problems along the way, just pop that question into YouTube and someone's bound to have put the answer in there for you. So best of luck with that.